David Neese with the EV World News broadcast. We're going to be discussing what's going on in the world of electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. The news we provide is for entertainment purposes only. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm running the broadcast solo today. Let's see what we've got here on EV World today. Screen. Researchers link electric cars with better air quality and improved health. Let's see what we've got here. Kind of an interesting article. This is from Clean Technica. So in California zip codes from 2013 to 2019, as EVs became more prevalent, we have a lower amount of carbon going into the atmosphere. We've had lower rates of asthma-related emergency department visits. What's interesting, of course, they stopped it in 2019 because in 20 and 21, with people not going to work as much, obviously everything dropped. I mean, smog worldwide is probably the greatest reduction in carbon and pollution worldwide we could have hoped for, but that's obviously not sustainable. Anyways, researchers link electric cars with better air quality and improved health. No surprise there. But this was the first study to use real-world data to link electric cars, air pollution, and health. The Keck School of Medicine have begun to document the actual impact of electric vehicle adoption. Using data from public sources, they analyzed a natural experiment in California with the state rapidly transitioning to electric cars. Results have recently been published in the journal Science of the Total Environment. The transition to electric vehicles is projected to have considerable public health co-benefits, but most evidence regarding air quality and health impacts comes from projections rather than real-world data. We evaluated whether population-level respiratory health and air quality co-benefits were already detectable at the relatively low levels of zero-emission vehicles and evaluating the ZEV adoption gap in underserved communities. The average number of zero-emission vehicles increased from 1.4 per thousand in 2013 to 14.7 in 2019. That's a tenfold increase. The adoption was considerably slower in zip codes with lower educational attainment. Well, that would make sense. Typically, people are going to be buying newer cars where people have better education and make more money. We see within zip code increase of 20 electric vehicles per thousand was associated with a 0.41 parts per billion change in annual NO2 in an adjusted model. 3.2% decrease in annual age-adjusted rate of asthma-related emergency room visits. Well, that's a pretty significant issue. But anyways, that's kind of a cool thing to see that there's some studies coming out on how things are impacting. And now, as EVs become more and more popular, we're only going to see more and more benefits from that. So the next article I'm going to cover is an interesting one. It's about how Mexico learned to stop worrying and love EVs. Now, a lot of Mexico's nationwide budget comes from oil and gas. And so this article comes from restofworld.org. And car makers such as Ford and Jetour, I'm not familiar with it, it's a Chinese brand, are building manufacturing facilities or repurposing existing internal combustion engine facilities across Mexico. Jetour doesn't sell in the United States, but does sell in several Latin American countries and in Africa and a few European and Asian countries. It's not distributed very widely, and certainly not in the United States. Their vehicles look a little bit like Volvos to me. And I'm going to show a little bit of what if I'm saying this right, they've got a nice looking website. I think their vehicles look a little Volvo-ish, to say the least. They look very nice. This is the Jetour X90 Plus. Like I said, it's not sold in the United States, but I'm sure they will at some point. They got a nice looking lineup of cars, and I'm sure that that will, you know, increase as time goes on. I just thought that was kind of interesting because it was a new brand I wasn't familiar with. But their website's worth checking out, jetourglobal.com. But anyways, back to the information about Mexico. So what's happened is they are having the current GM or CEO of GM Mexico has put the country's automotive industry into question because they know that they've got to start producing electric vehicles in Mexico. And in 21, the Mexican government approved a sweeping electricity reform that gave primacy to the state-run electric corporation over private alternatives, particularly ones generating power through renewable sources. Car companies complained they didn't trust the state power company to provide a reliable supply of electricity to their factories. The new law also undermined green energy production by promoting the dirtiest, most outdated and expensive modes of power generation, according to the U.S. ambassador in Mexico City. As recently of June of last year, Lopez Obrador was saying that speculators, those who manage the financial markets and the experts who sold us on the premature idea that oil was obsolete, that it was now the era of electric, had been wrong. The president's public bearishness on EVs eventually led to a very open clash with the auto industry, resulting in GM Mexico's CEO's expressions on the absence of the right conditions for investment in the country. Now, under the Build Back Better program, EV manufacturers have started expanding in the US, and this caused some issues with the Mexican government, which actually threatened legal action against the Biden administration in 2021, as did Canada. And a month later, GM announced it was going to open EV manufacturing operations in Michigan, as opposed to doing it in Mexico. But rising wages in China, continuous splintered supply chains have spurred EV investment in Mexico. After all, manufacturers got access to the cheaper labor and resources, and the government could tout Mexico's expanding industrial prowess once again. Mexico is full of news about EV investments. BMW is going to start making cars in San Luis Potosi. GM is building a new factory in the northern state of Coahuila and plans to retrofit one of its existing factories for EV production. So that'll be, and Ford makes its electric Mustangs in the state of Mexico. So anyways, Tesla is going to build a gigafactory in Monterey set to open in 2024. And then for last today, got an interesting article, kind of a hit piece by Axios on Tesla and Elon Musk, how Tesla's yarn unspooled. And obviously, a lot of times when people are trying to sell things, a lot of people sell optimism and hope. I think a lot of the value of Tesla as a company is based on optimism and hope. And Tesla's done a pretty good job dragging people kicking and screaming into the EV age. And if it weren't for them, the industry would still probably be 10 more years behind. Here's some of the claims, though, by Asana co-founder Dustin Moskovitz. The two lies propelled Tesla to its dominance in EVs. They're saying Tesla lied about the range. Tesla persuaded buyers into shelling out thousands of dollars for enhanced autopilot and full self-driving. I mean, if you drive a Tesla, the ability to keep the vehicle in the lane, the ability to take your hands off the wheel, what it does to protect you from distracted driving, because Lord knows we have so many electronics, so many things. I consider them to be such a safe vehicle, but they're not truly autonomous yet, but they're certainly getting there. And Moskovitz called it the biggest Kickstarter rug pull in history. I think at some point Tesla is going to be there. I just think that maybe they haven't been able to get it quite perfected. And I think, I'm not just trying to defend Tesla, but at some point somebody has to put these things on the road, and I think they're doing a great job. The argument is that Tesla's lies created a gravitational effect where customers, talented employees, and funding ended up flowing to Tesla rather than to anybody else. Stocks like Tesla are bought by people who believe in the company. Believers are generally the marginal price setters. Skeptics stayed away, and those who tried to short the stock ended up getting badly burned and ultimately drove up the share price when they had to cover their positions. And it's possible. I think a lot of people I see driving Tesla bought it because they see it as a status symbol, some of it to save the environment, some of it for cost savings, but I think more people bought it just because it's a nice looking car, it's new, and they wanted something cutting edge. And I think that if you're one of those people that's out there that's buying the latest iPhone, I think you're very likely to be interested in buying a Tesla because it's got all the latest and greatest features on it. At a high level, I believe Elon accelerated the development of electric vehicles by at most 1 to 2 years. It's plausible to me that he actually delayed it. Personally, I don't think I would agree with that, but I'm reading opposing viewpoints here. EVs comprise only a minority of new vehicles sold in the US and in most other markets. Ford has been surprised by demand for its hybrid vehicles and is ramping up the production, even as it continues to lose billions on its EV operations. Anyways, kind of an interesting piece on the EV market. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up for today. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for listening and have a great day.